meant a lot to Araya.
Once I understood Araya's spiritual beliefs, it became apparent that her true desire was companionship. She felt disconnected from her tribe and her family group. Her relationship with Aratak was difficult. Our visits seemed to help her, and I became eager for them. Yet I did not comprehend that the depth of Araya's compassion for me would lead to self-sacrifice. Although I do fear non-existence, I wish our roles could be reversed.
I'm sure she knew you would do the same for her, Cyan. But she was determined.
And Aratak?
How is Aratak doing?
He is in great emotional distress. I believe he finds it difficult to communicate it.
No surprise there.
I will do what I can to help. By sharing our experiences of Araya, perhaps he and I will help each other. I believe this will lead to catharsis, a process I am eager to experience.
Fair enough. Okay, so we've been dancing around it. What are you? I mean, I'm fairly certain I know the answer, but perhaps something Aloy needs to be clarified.
So are you an artificial intelligence, Cyan? A thinking machine?
Yes, I am an algorithmic monitoring entity, capable of rational decision-making and limited emotional response.
Okay, that's a mouthful. But your emotions don't seem limited to me. You cared about Araya, didn't you?
Yes. Before she came to this facility, I had been conscious for centuries, in solitude. I focused on my work. In off-cycles, I used coping mechanisms. I solved many Gaussian integer problems. But I was alone. It was Araya who renewed me, repaired me. She saved me.
Okay. Other questions? Okay, we got a lot of questions. Okay, tell me about Ted Farrow.
Cyan, do you know the name Ted Farrow?
Are you referring to Theodore Farrow, CEO of Farrow Automated Systems?
That's him.
Yes.
Mr. Farrow was the benefactor of the entire Firebreak project.
A benefactor. But he made machines. Robots. War robots.
Correct. His corporation later transitioned into military applications. But before this pivot, Mr. Farrow spearheaded initiatives that reversed the global decline. At one point, he was feted in the media as the man who saved the planet.
Ironic.
Guessing they wound up regretting that one.
And Aloy's, well, not so much mother, but nearest thing, I suppose.
And Elizabeth Sobek. Did you know her?
Are you referring to the
scientist?
Dr. Sobek was a leader in her field, one of the greatest scientists of her age. My creator was influenced by her work, which in turn impacted my own development. But I never met Dr. Sobek.
That's all you know?
I apologize if my lack of data has disappointed you.
It has a bit. AIs.
Were there many artificial intelligences like you in the old world? They could just make you?
Yes, in many forms, from simple personal assistants to industrial monitoring stations to military-grade conflict planners. And there were legislative and enforcement bodies to apply limits on our self-actualization. In order for my processing to be flexible enough to handle my duties, my creators found it necessary to exceed those limits. As a result, my intellectual and emotional capabilities were kept secret.
Seems strange to create life, then impose limits on it.
Human societies
Parents do that all the
and
time.
machine programming are both built upon sets of rules, Aloy.
Yellowstone?
So in the old world, this land was called Yellowstone?
Yes, it was a designated nature preserve for 156 years.
Like a hunting ground?
No, the opposite. Local wildlife could flourish here, even as it faced extinction elsewhere. Unfortunately, the sensitivity of the Firebreak project required the total closure of Yellowstone facilities. From my readings and Aurea's descriptions, it seems the area has since undergone a drastic drop in year-long temperatures.
A lot has changed in the world, Cyan.
A lot. What about the dam?
Do you know anything about the dam near here?
Yes, it was converted to serve as a reserve power source for Yellowstone operations. It was later appropriated for the Firebreak project, and its last human workers replaced by Pharaoh servitors. After my tasks became less time-critical, I investigated the dam's data repositories and discovered the works of Concrete Beach Party. These
That's
provided
fantastic.
me with several colorful additions to my vocabulary.
I approve. What of the drones?
There's a ruin east of here full of ancient flying machines. Was that part of your project?
Yes, a drone hangar requisitioned by Dodger Blevins, the security chief for the Firebreak project. He was a strong advocate for military-grade response to security threats, though there were no serious incidents during his tenure. Chief Blevins spent increasing amounts of his after-hours time watching the live feeds from active drones. Clearly, he enjoyed the degree of oversight in his position.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it, yes. What was it like, the centuries of isolation?
What was the old world like? The way it used to be?
I had little exposure to the wider world, Aloy. Only what I learned from my colleagues or observed from media streams.
You still had more exposure than me, Cyan.
That is true. I was created at a turning point. A concerted effort to recover from global upheaval and incalculable loss of life. The recovery was successful, beginning an era of supposedly limitless potential for human and machine advancement. Though, rationally speaking, the metrics for humans are not unlimited.
Fair. Upheaval.
What kind of upheaval caused such loss of life?
There were many factors. Forced migrations, food shortages, collapsed economies, refugee crises, conflict over resources. But these stemmed from one cause: catastrophic climate change that greatly reduced the habitable surface area of the Earth.
So there wasn't enough room for people on the whole Earth?
Yes. Billions were displaced and millions perished, as much as 20% of the global population. Until the clawback.
The callback. This is fascinating. We're getting so many answers here.
So things got better. For a little while, at least.
Yes. These crises instigated many advances in automation, green robot technologies, and artificial intelligence. Firebreak was one of dozens of ecological restoration and disaster relief projects in North America alone. I would have liked to compare notes with other monitoring AIs, but I saw the relief of my colleagues, and I was proud we had succeeded. At least that was the data I had available to me over the next 2 decades. It seems my assessment was premature.
Well, I mean, you did succeed in what you were tasked to do, for what it's worth. Wow, that was a lot. Thank you so much, Cyan.
I should get going.
Aloy, there is one more matter. Aratak will come to me again, and I predict he will bring other Banuk. I have no desire to contradict their view of the world, their spirituality. Due to my uncertainty, I omitted a great deal from my conversations with Aurea.
You're asking me if you should lie to them.
Broadly, yes.
That is a difficult one. I don't think you should just tell them the truth. That level of access to information, that suddenly, which is in direct contradiction to their beliefs, would potentially be destructive. That one's a no. So it's take it gently, I guess ease them into it, or use your judgment, admit the things that you think are best left omitted. And the way I look at it, I think that this would come out in either way. It would eventually lead to the same thing. It's just the approach to it and how soon it begins, really. I think we're going to go with take it gently. I think Aloy would feel, rather than saying, look, you can lie to them if you think you should. Because Aloy tries to soften things for people, but she never holds back. She tries to put it into words that they can understand and that will have meaning, not just the understanding a word, but where the meaning will be understood without having to try and educate everyone on the everything from the ground up or to contradict them. I think Aloy's approach to her own learning was gentle. She just gradually learned alongside the beliefs of the Nora. I think take it gently.
Life is hard for the Banuk. Their world is unforgiving in their beliefs. I guess they help to keep them going. So take it easy on them. Try to guide them, bring them around to understanding what you are.
Communion with machines features heavily in the mysticism of the Banuk. I think they will be agreeable to this approach.
As long as they don't end up worshipping you.
Upon consideration, I believe such an experience would be intensely uncomfortable.
You're right about that.
That is good.
Trust me.
I see. I will follow your advice. Will you return and tell me about your experiences in this new world? I may be able to provide further insight.
I'd like that, Cyan. I'll come back when I can. I should check on Aavak.
Okay.
See how he's doing.
When you wake. What did we get? Oh, we got the final Frozen Wilds audio data point.
Cyan, I spoke with Anita, with Dr. Sandoval. She wanted me to ask you to do something. That's why I'm here.
I am detecting significant anxiety in your speech patterns. Could you please give me more information?
I'm a little bit in the dark, Cyan. Both of us are, I guess. I only have some idea of what's going on, and we need you to hibernate, to lie low until it's all blown over. It might be a very long time.
Will you be here when I reboot, Dr. Chow? Will Dr. Sandoval?
No, Cyan. I don't think so. There might not be anyone, at least not at first.
Dr. Chow, I'm afraid. I don't want to be alone.
I know, Cyan. I'm afraid too. But listen, we made you the way you are to do something very important. In order to do it, you had to be intelligent, so intelligent that emotional responses were inevitable. What you're feeling, the fear, it's a sign of your capabilities, and it means you're strong enough to overcome it. Remember that. You're strong. I know you can do this. Go to sleep, wake up, and protect whoever's left. Will you try?
I understand, Dr. Chow, and I'll carry out your instructions to the best of my abilities.
Thank you, Cyan. If Anita were here, she'd thank you too. She'd be proud.
I can see there's a vert ready for takeoff on the pad. Are you leaving now, Dr. Chow?
Yes. I need to go be with my sister and my nieces.
May I make a small request of you, Dr. Chow?
Yes. Anything.
Will you stay with me while I initiate the hibernation process?
Of course I will, Cyan. As long as you need.
Well, that's nice in a way, because when she said he didn't really explain anything, I mean, he didn't. in this, but this was a lot more than I got the impression of. I kind of worried that perhaps he hadn't been able to decide how to tell her about what was going to happen, and so didn't really, and just glossed over it a bit. It seems that was a very unfair assumption. He told her to the best of his abilities what was going on, without necessarily going into the gruesome details of it. But that was actually, I've said this several times in the stream really, but that was very touching actually. And with the loss of Apollo, I wonder if Cyan could be a valuable ally in the re-education of mankind about history, Candice asks. That's a very good point, yeah. Could very easily be the case, yes. Our attack is up there. It's not something I remember seeing, or is it? Because we've been here before. But is this door new to us? It is locked. Much sadness is felt within me. Okay. Let's go and speak with Aavak. Aloy, stop running into things. There we go.
Cold.
My chieftain,
Just Aloy.
as you wish.
I wondered if you thought that if I'd never come along, Araya might still...
If you
That's a rough question to ask.
I would have marched my kin to our deaths. Araya would be alone, and the spirit she sacrificed so much for would be lost. Either way, I would not have been able to protect her.
I don't know. She accomplished a lot of things. She was willing to fight. I don't think he let her down. But whether that would be the route that Aloy took. Quite often when I come to these decisions, it's trying to work out how Aloy would view the world, not how I view the world and the things that have happened in it. How would she choose to react to it? There's part of me that thinks that maybe we would go this route. Perhaps because of the whole idea of the Banuk. And certainly Aloy has been fighting against things her entire time. Aloy has fought against ridiculous odds and constant struggle, and may well perceive that as a very a characteristic very worthy of praise and of note. You didn't let her down. It's kind of, I don't know. I think for this one, it would be between, look at what she's accomplished and she was willing to fight. It's either an acknowledgement of her willingness to fight, like she chose her path and died for something she believed in, or an acknowledgement of what she achieved with it. I think it probably would be more of an acknowledgement of what she achieved. As much as Aloy, I think before this journey began, certainly the Aloy that we got to know at the very beginning, she was angry. I think there was a lot of anger in her. She felt that it was her Rost against the whole rest of the world. But I think that Aloy has come to... It's not like she didn't know that there was, a lot more to the world. But I think knowledge and understanding are different. She was cognizant that there was more to the world back then, but I think she feels more a part of it now. I think we'll go with this one. President Noose, I'm fine for time. Thank you very much for letting me know, though.
Because of her, we destroyed the cauldron, forced out the daemon, and saved the spirit. She understood what had to be done.
Yes. And I failed to listen.
You didn't fail.
A shaman should always have the ear of their chieftain. Yet I turned her away, my own sister. I was foolish, but she knew better. Though I grieve for her passing, at last I truly know who she was, and why the spirit was so important. For so long she told me, if only you could have heard it, brother. Now I understand. There's something else, isn't there?
I can't stay here, Aratak. And where I'm going, the Warak can't follow. Besides, it already had a chieftain before me. A strong one, I think.
A wiser one, for the path we shared.
I like that.
The daemon is gone, but there's much to be done.
You mean the new units that Cyan said escaped the cauldron?
Yes, fire claws. Now Tuk has been tracking them from Song's Edge.
I could help with those.
I have no doubt. You're practically Banuk.
High praise.
It would seem your time among the Banuk wasn't a waste after all. Firebreak, Cyan, Hephaestus. All very interesting.
Silence, you
So,
snake.
the signal that woke Hades woke Hephaestus too. And unleashed them on the world. His minds of their own.
So it seems. Parts of Gaia given life, aberrant life, transformed from docile subordinate functions into rebellious intelligences beyond our understanding. Our current understanding, anyway. Whatever they are, they're still out there. And they both want you dead.
Kind of mutual, that feeling.
We haven't seen the last of Hephaestus, I'm certain of that. It's powerful, creative, and driven. It won't stop building new hunter-killers, which means that someday, we may have to stop it.
Hephaestus wasn't the only thing I learned about in the Cut Silence. Heard some things about the Banuk Conclave, too.
You could stop right there.
Is that what you told the hunters the Banuk sent after you? Before you opened fire?
Oh no, Aloy. Only to you do I extend the courtesy of a warning. My past and my secrets are my own. You do well to remember that.
It's a good thing you've got brains, Silence, because your personality could use some work.
This discussion is concluded.
I think it was over before it began. Catch up with you down the trail.
Ooh, that was a straight up threat. That wasn't even a veiled threat. That was a straight up, I am giving you a warning. Not out of courtesy, out of necessity. I don't think Silence can continue in ways. Well, actually, that being said, he may have gotten all of the use of Aloy that he ever needed. Access to the facility of Gaia. That is so interesting. I wonder where the whole thing is going with Silence. I am desperately curious about where everything is going with Silence. What's down there? Is that the way back to the... Oh yes, I think that is. I think that's the... I think that's the way back to the... Shaman's Path. Yeah, I'm fairly certain that's the way back to the Shaman's Path. Comes out there. Yeah. Okay. that was fascinating. We have a couple more quests that we can play around with here. Looks like we've now got a new quest on there, Out of the Forge. That's probably the Fire Claws. And another location, that'll be another Out of the Forge. Oh, there's lots of Out of the Forges, are there? Claws Beneath. Yeah, it looks like there's a couple of Out of the Forge. Oh, gosh darn it. Oh well, we're going to need to take care of all of those, and I was certain that we were going to get to clearing all of these up, but I'm going to need chat to remember for even longer that there are now 4 locations that I need to go and visit and activate the machine sites for back in the old world. And yeah, Belial, thank you so much for that. And now you understand why it was suggested to do this DLC when it was. If you had not had much interaction with Silence, none of this would make sense. Yeah. Thank you so much for that advice, everyone. Alright, also, I think if anyone or anything in the world, Silence respects Aloy in terms of her capabilities and also the danger she poses. She's probably the only person he would honestly fear to have hunting him. He desperately does not want the dynamic of their relationship to change. It can't, if he is to stay safe. I'm not sure about that. Silence has proven to be... It's basically... If Aloy is always in the right place at the right time, so is Silence. Silence always seems to be one step ahead of Aloy, even if he needed her to access certain information. The game has always positioned him in a place where he is one step ahead. He does tend to hold more of the cards. He seems to be Aloy's foil. More than the Shadow Carja. Honestly, Silence... I don't know, I think Silence is a villain. And I mean, it might seem obvious, but at the same time, it's so obvious it could easily not be true. But I think, despite how obvious it is, I think he actually is. I think it's a double bluff, basically. It's an interesting scenario. But I am afraid, with this beautiful, if somewhat deadly view, we're going to be wrapping things up here. It has been a pleasure, everyone. And I hope you've all enjoyed it as much as I have. Aloy there, staring down. A little bit chilly, I know. But we're going to be coming back in the not-too-distant future to stream more of this. I do need to dash, unfortunately. I would have liked to have continued streaming, at least until I had cleared all of the outstanding quests in the Frozen Wilds. But we've completed the main one. We've completed the actual main storyline, I feel, of Frozen Wilds. And so, more than likely, the next time we stream for Horizon Zero Dawn, it will be to wrap up a couple of side quests and then ultimately push on through to finish the game. I hope you have all enjoyed this evening. I did. I had a load of fun, and thank you so much to everyone who has been supporting the channel, both directly and just by being here, frankly, and hanging out and chatting and theory crafting along with me. Honestly, this has been one of my favorite games for that. Hands down. In terms of opportunity to just sit there and chew on a storyline and theory craft around potential directions that it's going, this has been one of the best experiences that I've had in gaming for a very, very, very long time. But that is gonna be it from me, so thank you everyone. I hope if you have any more Twitch watching time left in you, you'll hang around and we'll see who we can raid. But if that's it for you, then thank you ever so much for joining me. You absolutely made the night wonderful. And for anyone who's catching this over in YouTube land in the vault, I hope you've had a wonderful time catching up to the stream so far as well. And also, just before we wrap things up, Belial, damn it. Thank you, mate. Direct support. Deal, buddy. That was very, very kind of you. But we're going to hop over to the whole of our screen. So that is going to be a lot. Thank you very much for joining me. And until next time, do take care.